we put people together inside of our community among like 7, 8 figure sellers. So then people see what is possible. And I think that expands the thinking. So environment has like crucial role in kind of like how successful the person can become. If your environment is not necessarily productive, you have to change your environment.
You're listening to ECOMMERCE, a Debutify podcast, your resource for one-of-a-kind insights into the world of e-commerce and business in the modern age. This is Joseph. I'll be presenting a wealth of industry knowledge from interviews with successful business people and our own state-of-the-art research. Your time is valuable, so let's go. Alex Fedotoff, it is good to have you here in ECOMMERCE. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Good. Thank you so much for hosting me, Joseph.
You're welcome so much. It's great to have you here. And this is an ECOMMERCE first. So to my audience, just so they understand what usually happens is, I get some time to look into my guests. So I have some information going in. And over the last year, I've accumulated a lot of subscriptions, all people in the e-commerce space. We've got the Amazon people, the Google people, some programmers and stuff like that. So my algorithm is razor focused on like other e-com ads. And that's where I first saw you. You were running an e-commerce ad as well. And I actually took your name down, like, oh, Alex Fedotoff, we got to get this guy in the program. And I don't know if that's actually how we ended up having you or if it was a coincidence, but either way, it's great to have you. And I did want to ask you about that. Just not yet. First, I have an opening question for you, which is to tell us, what do you do and what are you up to these days?
So our business, we pretty much run like business like kind of like has two main divisions. One is e-commerce business. So we operate several brands, operating like mostly on the drop shipping model. So we drop ship from China, but with good experience, with good shipping times, our customers are happy. So that's one line of our business, bigger one. And the smaller one is our consulting business. So we have like a community, like a mastermind of people where we pretty much like learn from each other and kind of like help everyone grows. So that's our business.
And so with the drop shipping, are these products that you're currently working on for yourself, or is it also you working with clients and helping them drop ship their products?
So these are all our own projects. What we also do these days is, for example, we might work with a client, and then if their business is doing well, let's say their business is doing like 7 figures, and my expertise and what I'm doing, like that's kind of like my core expertise probably, is taking businesses that are like at 7-figure range, taking them to 8-figure level. And so that's what our team is good at. So with some of these businesses, we partner up. We help them to go from like 7 to 8 figures, and then we help them to successfully exit that business, and everyone wins.
The other day, I was explaining to my partner just to quantify the difference between, say, being like a 5-figure or a 6-figure to 7-figure, and you think like the minimum to be 6-figure, like 100,000, and you could have 10 of those versus one person who is the minimum for 7-figure, and then the same thing happens a 7-figure to 8-figure. In your experience, what would you say is the most, I guess, substantive, or maybe the most shocking, or really the most difficult to really fully get a grip on, the difference between going from 6-figure to 7-figure, 7-figure to 8-figure, 8-figure to 9-figure, if that's come up?
So basically, what kind of like the main like difference makers in those type of situations? Why, for example,
I'd like to hear. Well, if you can share a perspective of the people you've worked with, I'd love to hear that too. Your own perspective, I'd like to hear that, and even the mindset of just what is the qualifying difference between the person who makes it from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8.
That's a very good question.
Thank you. I worked hard on it.
Like, businesses are us, right? Like, and the quality of business typically depends on quality of the person that runs that business. And for sure, that has a big impact. What I have noticed about like our most successful, because we have, for example, some of our clients, some of our students, they're doing like 8 figures in sales, like $1.5, $2 million per month in sales. So pretty decent businesses and well organized. So for those type of people, what I have noticed is that they are very hungry for knowledge, and also but you can be hungry for knowledge and you can, for example, watch the podcast. Like you have tremendous guests on your podcast, right? But the difference between people that are successful, people that are not necessarily that successful, is the actual execution. So you might learn some like principles from the podcast, and like taking that idea and actually implementing it, that actually would get you the results, right? Because everyone has access to the information. And what I have noticed, and that's particularly what's been like big difference maker, like in our community, is that like people, we put we put people together inside of our community among like 7-8 figure sellers. So then people see what is possible, and I think that expands the thinking. So environment has like crucial role in kind of like how successful the person can become. So that's kind of like, I think, another factor that people have to take into consideration. So if your environment is not necessarily productive, you have to change your environment. If you need to relocate, you need to relocate. For example, I'm from Ukraine, and I had to relocate. Like last few years, I've relocated several countries. Now we're in Miami, Florida, in the United States, and kind of like constantly relocating because you're looking for a better environment, better people to surround yourself with, because that will predicate your growth. You will see those people. Now you're inspired. Now you see some ideas. You actually believe that it is possible because you have seen people that might be younger than you, but hungrier than you, and actually executing those ideas, getting them done, and achieving great success. So I think that these are like big factors in the success of.
I've talked to a number of people so far who, yeah, they just got into their 20s, 21, 22, and they own their own homes. And yeah, it's I recognize that any podcast can only go so far. Especially you only have an hour, and that's also why with my line of questioning, I ask big questions, I ask small questions, but I find the more granular they are, the better off a person is just like going onto your YouTube and getting the most up to date videos, because things can change pretty rapidly, as I'm sure you're aware of. Doing Facebook advertising and seeing just how many things can change drastically on a regular basis. Now, I actually wanted to ask you about Miami. I was planning on asking you about this later, but you brought it up. So. What was it? My girlfriend and I, we've actually talked about moving to the States because we're not too pleased with how things are going in Canada right now, and Miami, Florida is like one of the main contenders because it is it's a coastal city. So being in Toronto, we're kind of used to that. But it's also densely populated. So there's going to be buses and stuff like that. But like, what was it about Miami that drew you to there, of all the places you have the luxury of going to?
For sure. So, so I'm from Ukraine, and it is like extremely challenging to just like get a visa, to like United States, for example. So it took me like 5 years. So the obstacles that people, for example, live in like developed countries, they wouldn't even know about those obstacles. But I think that's good that I had to overcome them. In Miami, like generally, I think it just the climate. We lived in Europe, and it was pretty like gloomy, so we didn't want to see that. Also, I knew some very good entrepreneurs that lived here, so I assumed that if they have chosen this place to live, then it's probably a good place to live. And it was the right assumption, because like now we have tremendous like influx of very good people, entrepreneurs, or even from other states in the United States, because it's open, everything's open, like restaurants and everything, and it's just a good place to be. And but it generally kind of like the mindset that I would have is, what is a better environment? So, for example, if tomorrow something changes and like, I don't know, Colorado becomes a better place, or we see there like the opportunity, the environment to grow our business, attract amazing talent, then we will just relocate there. So we're not want to be like all of the other things we just cut, because that's only what matters. Like if you want to succeed in life, you have to make some sacrifices, you have to make some choices. And I think that is, that's one of the reasons why we moved here.
One more question I wanted to touch on this, and then I want to go back to that YouTube ad that I chambered earlier, is because I know you're also, a father too. So you have to factor in how this impacts your family on top of all this other stuff. For anybody who may end up in this situation down the line, if not already, how did that come into the equation?
For sure. So with our kid, I mean, we changed several countries. When our kid was born, like we changed a few countries already, even before coming here. So he had exposure like to different environments, and so when we came here, like my line of thinking is, as an entrepreneur, I think you have to prioritize the business. I mean, kind of like prioritize, at least give yourself like 8-10 hours of like focused work a day, because that what will allow you to kind of like produce for your family, and the rest, like, so you produce and then you can afford like different things, like you can afford a nanny, you can afford a good schools for the kids. And we have organized life in a way where it's like, we wake up in the morning, we take kid to the school, then he after that nanny picks him up. So we have like a proper like 9-10 hours of work that we can get done a day. And then obviously like weekends we try to spend with a kid, but we have organized our life in a way where it's like, we can spend time with the kid, focus time in the morning, in the evening, but also we can get some work done. And also organizing the whole life in a way where it's like, if you can work from home, that's awesome. We couldn't because it was too noisy, and so we have an office which is very close to where we live. So office like 10 minutes walk. Then the kindergarten is also 10 minutes walk. So everything is close by. Everything is walking distance. We don't even need a car. We don't need to commute, which saves a lot of time. And I think those type of things, organizing, optimizing everything in your environment so you can actually get stuff done. I think that is hyper important.
Yeah, and it's really one of the most attractive things about being in a densely populated urban setting. Everything being within walking distance, and there were stigmas to that. I mean, not that very much positive came out of the pandemic, but I think one positive that came out of it for sure is the respect for a remote lifestyle and for being in a situation where everything is a lot more closer and a lot more convenient. Costs a little bit more money, but so does having a car.
100%, 100%. Yeah.
All right, so here's my question about the ad. Like I said before, my YouTube algorithm is highly focused, and so naturally I was targeted for it. But the thing that struck me as not confusing or anything, but certainly a curious question is that those ads, they will reach out to people, I think, in the more entry level position. I don't necessarily think that. I mean, it's possible that it reaches to people who are in the 6-figure range, 7-figure range. They use YouTube too, but I would say that for the large part, it's a lot of entry level people. So, tell us about this ad that you were running. Like, what you expecting out of it? Maybe some of the results you did get out of it, and what was your mission that you're trying to accomplish with it?
For sure. So our consulting business. I mean, overall, like our goal was in like 5 years to own like a private equity firm and acquire, consolidate and aggregate e-commerce companies. So what we're doing now is pretty much we're building the foundation for it. So all of the people in our community, so mostly they're drop shippers, but it's just a matter of time when all of these people just evolve into brands. So we're evolving into brands, they're evolving into brands. So we'll be consolidating and buying these brands for our clients. We'll be helping them to grow with our training platform. And then once, they're a certain level, we'll be acquiring them, or we'll partner up with them, and then we'll be helping them to, leading them to the exit. So the platform, kind of like the funnel that our ads are using, is pretty much getting people into our ecosystem, right? We don't need like people that are just like starting out. I mean, it's not that we don't need them, but we cannot help them as much as we can help, for example, 6-7-figure entrepreneurs. We definitely have some of the people who are just starting out, but then we have the qualifying questions. So when people, for example, apply for a phone call, we'd have the qualifying questions. If we cannot help them, unfortunately, we'd have to say no. And we would recommend certain like products and certain like services that they could use to get their business to a certain level. And after that, we can collaborate and we can help them to grow to the next level. So our market is like 6-7-figure entrepreneurs, e-commerce entrepreneurs. This is just kind of like based on the data that we have, kind of like the result that we have been able to our clients to achieve, to help our clients achieve. And so that's the market that we're focusing on.
And then in regards to drop shipping, it's encouraging to hear how important of a component it is to your business. We've got on this show, we've gotten every opinion possible on drop shipping. We've said some people don't go into the States, it's saturated, sell to these countries. We've had some people say don't sell that. Don't do it. We've had everything. So I want to get your take on drop shipping. And as people are coming to into your ecosystem, as you say, they're in the 6-figure range. Is there any trends or patterns you're noticing? Like certain niches right now are working exceedingly well. The brand that they're associating with it, along those lines.
For sure. So what we're seeing is that generally, in terms of the saturation, I think it just like every market. Like if you have if there is a market with a low barrier of entry, it's a matter of time that a lot of people will get into it. It's just natural, and so it's just happening, and we are okay with that. Like with the clients that we have, a lot of them are now like we get a lot more and more clients that actually run brands, and they run brands, but for example, having drop shipping store versus a brand, you could have a brand which is would have a very good customer experience, but at the same time it might be struggling to generate sales. You might have a dropshipping business that is very successful. So I think the success of the business at the end of the day is predicated how successful it is in terms of the sales. And they're definitely, I wouldn't say that dropshipping is saturated as is. It is getting more challenging because Facebook is dropshippers finding all of these ways. And in our business, we have developed systems with ad accounts, with pages, with profiles, so we can advertise continuously. Even if something gets banned, we have multiple sources of the agency accounts, which are not getting banned as easily. And so we have all of these resources that help us to maintain the volume that we want to have. But at the same time, it is, we see that trend where it's just getting more and more difficult. And in terms of the enterprise value of the company that we're building, if there is a drop shipping element, we are losing on that. We're losing on that, right? If we would have, for example, fully unique products, shipping from United States, fast shipping, we have still decent shipping, but not as good as it can be. So in that respect, we are losing probably some enterprise value if you want to exit the brand, our portfolio of companies at this particular moment. So it's I think dropshipping is amazing training ground, because you don't have to for example, just start with buy inventory for $100,000, right? And then just hope that that inventory will sell. So I think drop shipping as a business model is great for validating different ideas. But what's important is that to evolve. So one of the priorities right now in our business is to products that we sell to improve these products, make them more defensible, trademark, patents, and basically turn them into brands. So pretty much that transition to make it more smooth. So we don't have to guess what's selling. We already know what's selling. It just turn those ideas into actually something that has bigger market value.
So as you might imagine, having done this show for about a year now, I set up my own store. I got my own brand going. I haven't sold anything yet. I don't go that quickly, unfortunately. But for me, the catalyst that really started to excite me about what this is capable of, it wasn't the product, which I'm in the midst of doing my own crash testing right now, just making sure this thing doesn't crash. But it was the brand that got me more excited about it, because it reminded me that, let's just say this product doesn't work. It's very possible that people move on to the next product, but the brand is something that I think is more has more inherent value. If you have a strong affiliate system, a strong blog, a customer service, start to build up a community around it, I think it elevates the product in a way where if somebody is just depending on the dropshipping product right off the bat, then that, to me, comes across as more of a gamble. So let me frame this in a way that I think is a question: have you seen At your point, have you seen that it's the strength of the brand that's been carrying the product more, or the strength of the product is carrying the brand? Is it a balance between these two, or is it leaning more into one or the other?
I think till some point, your product is your brand, right?
Okay.
Like, and the
Yeah.
experience that you deliver is your brand. Like, I mean, Apple, for example, they can make cars, they can make like, I don't know, sunglasses. They can make I don't know, the tripods for the for the phone, and probably everything will sell to some capacity because there's a lot of value, a lot of like perception that's already established. For a company that's like brand new, that doesn't have that awareness, that doesn't have endorsements, I mean, it's a lot about, I mean, you can modify that perception, you can create that perception. But at the end of the day, like, if, for example, your marketing is amazing, like your website is like sleek and like well designed, it's very like minimalistic and it looks amazing, and people enjoy buying, and conversion rates are high. So everything's good on the marketing side. Everything comes to the point where people actually see the package. First of all, how much time they're waiting for the package, and whether they're happy with what's inside, whether they're happy with the quality of the product, whether they're happy with the packaging, how it's wrapped, whether it wasn't damaged, whether it's like usable, all of the features, all the benefits, whether that matches with your marketing. So if that expectation is matching, then you have something that's valuable. But otherwise, so I think a lot of people perceive brands on this kind of like side of marketing. It's kind of like, okay, it's a nice logo, it's a nice website, but the brand, in my perception, is the experience at the end of the day, right? So you might have tremendous experience, but then quality of products is not very good. Then how is it better than dropshipping? So that's my view on that. And I think at the end of the day, yeah, it will come down to the experience that customers have. Because what's important about building building brands is like one of the most important things. Like, so when we evaluate businesses that we want to invest in, it's the repeat purchase ratio. So if customers don't buy like more than one time, like something is off, I guess. Maybe it could be due to the email sequences and automation sequences and SMS sequences, and kind of like you being offered, like you having only one product on the website, so people simply don't have the capacity to buy more than one. But if you have all of that and people still don't buy, right, then that's experience problem, and that needs to be addressed. So that's how I see it.
And so when you're bringing businesses into the ecosystem, are they typically sticking to the product that they've come into it with? Or is it possible that in order for them to scale up, people are switching gears, going into different product lines?
You definitely need more than one product, for sure. Like, at least, like, so if you have like one main product and you see that it's promising, you definitely need like a few more products just to have as upsells and cross sales to kind of like maximize that average order value, being more profitable with each transaction. If you think about any company, like they would start like, there's a company called Manscaped, if you're familiar.
Manscaped? Yeah, I'm familiar.
It's catering specifically to man. I have the product. It's amazing product. And so it's the same model. So they started with this one kind of like core product. They added these like different gels and different kind of like creams and stuff. So it makes like a bundle. And now if you will go to their website, they have like so like many different categories now. So they are expanding from there, but that core product still maintains the same. This is what they're mostly pushing. That's what gets people into ecosystem. And all of these other products are maximizing the lifetime value of customers on the back end and keeping them in that ecosystem.
Well, I think Manscaped is a great example to bring up. And I just pulled up the website real quick just to see like what's the first impression that I get. And yeah, and the razor is still their front runner, but very quickly you also see some of the what they call Reviver and Reserver. Okay, well, I'm not saying that word out loud, but then there's also a deodorant here too.
And that is a difference if you think about it. Like they have these I bought the version 3.0. Now it's 4.0. And probably in a few months or like in a year from now, they'll have like 5.0, which means they're constantly evolving with their product. Probably they're getting feedback from customers. I think that is a difference between brand and possibly drop shipping. So drop shipping, pretty much you're drop shipping something that already exists. These guys have actually researched, invested in research and development, creating a better version of the product, making customers more happy. Now, even people that probably also helps with repeat purchases, because let's say you bought like 3.0 version, maybe you'll decide to buy 4.0 version of the product, or you want to buy it for a friend because you had a great experience. So it's like the same with Apple, right? So I have this phone here, and it's like every year they sell you a new version of it, like every year.
Yeah.
Like September, like what is new version? Everyone buys. New version, everyone buys. So keeping people in that ecosystem and then supplying them with multiple products. You don't want to get like too distracted, like launching new products all the time, because at the end of the day, your core product is your core product, but you definitely need supplementary products to maximize the lifetime value of each customer.
And what I think is also important too is that when a brand such as Manscaped gets to the point where it has that many products available to it, they've gone past just trying to sell somebody on the razor. They've really tried to cultivate, I think, a more comprehensive consumer avatar, where now they're saying, well, this, it's not just about shaving. It's also about your skincare. It's about your health routine. It's about your overall well-being. And I think this is me like learning, by the way. I've made the mistake in the past in different projects where I came across like I knew everything. I don't. But what I'm getting here is that they have, in order for them to really scale to the next level, it's not just expanding on the product, having these other products. It's a continued extension of their mission and of the mentality that they want to impart on people. I go to the website and I think just about the razor, but then I'm thinking about all this other stuff too. And even if I'm not buying any of it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, you know what? I see what they're doing. They're introducing the new problems to me. They're telling me, these are other things that you might not have thought about. Something that can go wrong with your skin, can go wrong with your well-being, something that can affect you when you come out of the shower. It's all new things to think about, which ties into the next products that they're selling.
100%, exactly. So I think they're probably maxed out. And it was that particular, maybe not maxed out, but like probably like, because that's kind of like the key, like they didn't pioneer, but like they pretty much dominated that niche. That niche kind of like, they just like overtook it. And like now they probably kind of like, they might have seen kind of like decline or maybe like plateauing their sales with the main product. So they say, okay, like let's introduce these like other categories. Maybe we'll kind of like get into all of those and keep dominating like different subcategories and keep expanding the brand.
Okay, so the next, I wanted to ask you about this. I wasn't, this one wasn't on my list, but you mentioned the part of the exiting process, and I don't get to ask too many people about the exit. In fact, I think I've only talked to one person so far about exit. So, very broad strokes. What is it that a business is doing to be, actually, no, more than one person. I talked to a brokerage. So what is it that a business is doing to get themselves ready for exit? And are there certain things that a business wants to do from the very beginning, from day one, that they want to keep in mind if exiting is their end goal, which it often is?
Amazing question.
Thank you. I worked hard on it.
Yeah. So amazing question. And actually, like today, I have received a message from one of my brokers. So I have brokers, and so clients join our training platform, our mastermind, and we help them to grow. Like clients, we help them with specific areas of their business, whether that's like advertising, whether that's like email marketing, whether that. So we refer them like to different resources. We kind of like fill these gaps that they have in their business. And I have this like amazing client. His name is Vylan. He's like 21 years old, very young kid. And
it makes me cry to hear that.
Yeah, he has grown like very successful business, selling a particular product. He's been growing that business from like 2019, which is like 2 years now. And first year he's done like, I guess like he's done like $2 million in sales, which is pretty decent. And the second year he has done, like last year, he's done like over $4 million in sales, and he had generated like $1.2 million in profit. So like he reaches out to me, and I might be thinking about selling the business. Okay, sure. I connected him with my resources. And so I connect him with my resources. One of my brokers like kind of guided him through that process, which I'll explain in a second what that was. And he sent me, today we have listed the business. The business is like $4.5 million. For a young kid, I mean, I think that's pretty nice. Like exit, if they'll be able to pull it through, like that's pretty good. Pretty good starting point. $4 million. That is drop shipping. So just to give you context, this is drop shipping business, right? If you go to AliExpress, you would be able to source exactly the same product. So that's for the context. Now, so what made that business actually successful and sellable was a few factors. Like, so first of all, people actually happy with the product, even though it's dropship, even though it's coming from China, even though it's like 10, 14 days, people have to wait for the product. People are happy with the product. You go to his apps, people are happy. Hey, I'm so happy with this product. Help me to do this, this, and this. I'm so happy. People naturally post this. And I think that is like probably number one thing. Because if you kind of like, these are people and you're trying to push that, like those products, like, down their like throats, it's not good, it's not good experience. And it's, if buyer is sophisticated, they'll quickly figure that out. If brokers are sophisticated, I mean, they wouldn't even like want kind of like being like, aligned with a business or being participating in selling that business. So that is number one, just like customer satisfaction. Second, repeat purchase ratio. So customer satisfaction, the product itself is consumable. So you use it for some time, then you need another one. So second, repeat purchase ratio. So there's percentage of people that buy every single, like months or every like few months because they need more of it. Like it's more and more. So that is a second factor. Third, and that was specifically the readjustment that I talked to the broker that represents him, and he said, okay, so you're drop shipping now. A lot of the people can go to like AliExpress, drop ship exactly the same product. So he guided him to create the licensing agreement with his supplier, with the factory that supplies him the products. Okay, so we have the arrangement. We have nothing, like you can sell products under a brand. Everything is kind of like on paper, everything looks legitimate. So for the buyer who buys this business, I mean, they can just take over and they can have peace of mind that like tomorrow maybe factory like decides, hey, we don't want this seller, selling our product anymore. Let's shut him down. So that was the third factor. And fourth is, he reached out to me like 1 month ago. He was preparing business for sale. Every process in this business like was documented. Like, okay, so how did he manage the ads on a daily basis? Okay, how he communicates with supplier, how he does his like video editing, how he sources the content for his ads, how he manages the website, what kind of like things he changes on the website from time to time. So kind of like all of those things he has streamlined. And the interesting thing about this business, do you know how many employees this guy has?
Can I guess?
Yeah, guess.
16.
1.
Okay. All right.
You were close. You were close.
Yeah. I could have been a lot further off. So
like 1 employee. So he has like one person, I think in like India or Pakistan, and the person helps him with like video editing, some other probably customer support. And this is it. And he has a supplier. So he works with his supplier. He has his client, kind of like that support person that helps him out. And this is it. So in terms of overhead, like margins are like extremely high. And he manages all of his ads. He uses the email marketing agency. So I recommend like the email marketing agency that he's using that generates extra sales for him on the back end of his business. And pretty much, that is like very like simple example. So it's kind of like it's a brand. In a way, it's a brand, but it's like drop shipping, kind of like, so it's kind of like a hybrid. So this is how I see it. If you do it right, you can build something sellable. Maybe it will not have like some crazy multiple, like some of these businesses sell for it, but you can still get like 2-3x multiple in the profit on such business, which could mean a pretty significant exit.
So great answer. I have to remember to say that more often because people say great question and I'm always thankful, but I never say great answer. So customer satisfaction, repeat purchase, ease of transition, and documentation. I wrote them down. Just wanted to make sure, right? Those 4?
Yeah, what was the 3? Licensing agreement. If you drop shipping, make sure you have the licensing agreement. Or if that's your brand, that's trademarks and patents. Okay, you're selling the business now. Someone comes tomorrow, like they have big budgets, they launch a product in your category, they read like all of your landing pages, they read all of your ads, they just like scale that product, they push you out of auctions, you're out of business. So if buyer is considering the business, like those are the things that go through his mind. Like, can I lose money on this transaction? What is the risk I'm taking here?
And one of the other ways that I wanted to also ask this is, so we talked about what is ready for the exit, and a lot of this is, these are things that really sound like you would want to have this like even from day one, especially documentation early on. Right from the beginning, start to document, these are my costs, these are the tasks, and so on. Now, would you say that these 4 factors are the most significant ones in scaling a business from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and so on? Or along the way, I mean, to be fair, customer satisfaction, I think it covers a lot of it. But along the way, does anything else stick out as some of the key pillars to make it to the exit?
100%. I mean, I think there are different kind of like there are different things required from like just like jump starting the business from zero versus things that are required kind of like making the business sellable. Because for example, these things that we have just covered, so my client, my student, like he didn't have those. He created those within like 2-3 months. And he didn't have them in the first place when he created the business. But what he had was, okay, so product market fit, right? Like, so I don't know if you know this story about like PayPal when they first started. So now it's like extremely successful company. Like Elon Musk is like a genius, right? Like everyone's like worshiping him.
I think I might know the story. I think at first PayPal, they didn't have very much activity, so they were paying people to use it.
Yes, and they also would go like very broad, like kind of like who can use a PayPal? Oh, everyone can use it. Everyone, like it's for everyone. But then they figured out the eBay power sellers, like they would make a button, like they some custom coded that button PayPal and put it into their website, and they would see like few of those people, and they would process it. They would process a lot of transactions. Like they would analyze the data. They'll see, geez, we probably need to just like scrap everything else, just focus on this specific segment because this is product market fit. It solves the real problem. People would buy because they see something on eBay listing, and this is how they started to get traction. So product market fit, and so it applies to both like brands. That's why, for example, what we just touched on earlier, like making like $100,000 worth of like tremendously like beautiful packaging, shipping from United States, fast shipping, tremendous experience, like, and product that like you put and you list like on Amazon, you post like on Facebook ads and it doesn't sell, right? Because there's no product market fit. So everything that we think as entrepreneurs like, doesn't matter. We might have our own like, oh, this would sell, or sometimes I would think like this ad would work very well. It doesn't matter. Our opinions don't matter. We are just like irrelevant because what matters is what people think, what people would buy, what people would pay for. I had a conversation just before this one today with David like Stellato. He works with DFO Global. It's a big conglomerate. Like they run multiple offers, like $150 to $200 million in revenue, like humongous, my favorite company. And he shared with me, that the offers that they run. Also, some of the offers like they don't work. Some of the offers like they might have their opinions. Okay, this offer would work, but some offers just work a lot better than others. Some funnels that they have, some pages they would have like this would look ugly, and like visually they're not as attractive, but they would convert like crazy. And so I think that's what a lot of the times entrepreneurs kind of like miss that. They focus on something that looks beautiful, But something that looks beautiful doesn't mean it will sell. And sometimes, people would invest like $5, $10, $20,000 into like custom like websites. You guys have a tremendous team. Like, I mean, they're probably, you see probably the data like behind your sellers. They're probably people like doing like 8, 9 figures. Even with a team, your team is quite simple to use, quite simplistic, but it's conversion optimized. It's optimized for the result. And this is the only thing that matters at the end of the day. It's not your branding, it's not your colors, it's not like how beautiful it looks, but how it actually sells. So, what was the question?
I was just clarifying so it was initially about what are the factors that a business should prepare for exit, but then what are some factors that stick out along the way? And you mentioned quite a few.
100%. Yeah. So it's like product market fit in the first place. Whether product sells, whether there is a big pain that product sells, because big pain, and like, for example, like millions of people struggle, like, or not struggle, but suffer from like excessive weight, right? They want to lose weight. Those are people want to exercise more efficient and faster because they don't have time for the gym. So you have the Peloton, you have the mirror, you have all of these different things. You have massive businesses that are created just out of that one opportunity because people don't want to be socially exposed. So whenever there's a problem, there is a solution, right? And entrepreneurs selling the solution. You're selling dropshipping product, you're selling the solution. And the way I think about it is problems pretty much remain the same. People want to look good, people want to feel good. In entrepreneur, like in training, like people want to make money, right? So this is one of the problems that we solve. And pretty much what people want to live longer. And so like there are a few kind of like core problems that are just existing, right? They're having like many people selling, the posture correctors, right? That problem like didn't go anywhere. So DFO, like if you will research, there is this product called Upright Go that they're selling. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. It's very
successful. Talking about the posture corrector?
Yeah.
I tried one.
You have it?
Well, it's gone now because it was the one I got is like a harness and it's all Velcro based. And well, I mean, my posture is pretty bad. Like one of my defensive techniques is to turn to my side and then a punch would go right past me. So I was in a pretty bad situation. But the problem with the Velcro was that it didn't hold. The tension was too much, and then it kept snapping off. So I said, all right, back to plan A, which is willpower.
So yeah, it's, exactly. You fight? What do you do? Martial arts?
No, I mean, I've taken some classes when I was a kid, but like, no, that's just my my self-deprecating sense of humor.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so basically, I mean, they have this like, so problem is the same. Problem is bad posture, right? But how's it solved? It's solved like not with this kind of like harness, which is, I mean, some people like it, some people don't. But it was this like beautiful, like it looks like an Apple device. It's like white, it's good looking, right? And it's shiny object. It's like, oh, finally, that's a solution, right? So people are always looking for the shiny object. So you have the existing problem. If you can resolve that problem. So the problem with the dropshipping model is like pretty much people kind of like choose from the same pool of products. What we do differently is that we are reaching out to our suppliers and we're asking, hey, here's this product. Do you have like newer variations of that product? Newer. Maybe it's looking like, so everyone is selling like, let's say black, kind of like device. We would sell white. We would sell like red. We would sell like pink. We'll sell, whatever color would sell. And we would ask them. And then we would just like put some ads on, we would just put some stock images and we would see if that will sell. If that will sell, we just refund all of the orders and we would start like ordering the product and actually selling it. But we would try to find the new solution to the old problem. And this is exactly what you need kind of like to go from that like initial level, because you might just go like and just, okay, so someone is successful with these ads. Let me just like copy the product, copy the landing pages, copy like all of this stuff. The problem with that is like, that's the same thing that like other like 1,000 people are doing. And so you're placing the ads targeting the same audiences, you copying pretty much the same content from YouTube, and there is no like differentiating point for any of that. So most likely, most of the cases it doesn't work. Where it does work is like where you have some differentiating points, whether that is with product, sometimes just with your ads. Product might be very similar, but your ads are different. With your funnel, your conversion mechanism is different. But those are kind of like more advanced things that we use, for example, in our business. I think they're not for everyone. Even in the first place, we have some people in our program, some students that have very, very basic websites. And I just had a conversation. That's also like one of our guys. He works with a company called Audi. If you're familiar, like Australian company, extremely successful. They're selling this like blanket kind of like blanket that you can put on yourself, and you can.
Yeah, I've seen those. I think they're pronounced Udi.
Udi or maybe Udi.
Yeah. Like it's like a cloak blanket where you just
exactly. So that company, for example, he told me like their like team, their website is Debut team. So not even like your guys like paid team, like it's more advanced, more sophisticated. It is Debut. It's like free team that anyone can get, right? But because their products are different, their content is different. Their content is unique. There's a lot of UGC. They're killing it. So those are kind of like the things, kind of like thinking differently. I think those things would help you to go from like just build a business with that great foundation. And I'm not even thinking like 6-figure level, because if you do something like that, if you do it right, that's like as minimum has a 7-figure potential.
It's pretty amazing to think that. I don't know what it is, and I should really get this thought out of my head, but the idea of a product with that kind of international renown is like on a Shopify, let alone what Theme is using. Just the idea that it's a Shopify thing. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, or if there's like a stigma attached to the limitations people expect from a Shopify store. So it's just fascinating to think, like, I walked into a Canadian Tire, which is just a store here. There's people all over the world. I should really clarify. It's the name of a store. I didn't just walk into a tire, at least not lately. But it's a product in a superstore, and it's available, and you see it in the boxes. And it's just amazing to be able to create a connection between that and a tool that everybody has access to right here, right now.
Exactly. I mean, I think like kind of like internet and e-commerce and all of these platforms just kind of like lower the barrier like so low that it's like you can just like start your business like today, like yesterday. Like, I mean, it's so easy. Like all of the barriers are gone. The only barrier is kind of like it's just like our imagination. It's kind of like, okay, so we are getting into this pool. We have this opportunity as much as like millions of other people. The question is like, how do we differentiate?
This was a question that chambered in my mind based on your last answer, and it's about how the entrepreneur really has to ask, what does the customer want? What is the customer trying to what problems they're trying to solve? And fundamentals, it's about looking good, feeling good, living longer, if not achieving total immortality, which one step at a time, people. And I think what's kind of a challenge is that me, technically as an entrepreneur myself, I buy things too. I'm a consumer. So what is it about, this is a speculative question, but what is it about the entrepreneur's mindset where they can't trust their own buying habits and their own position as a consumer, and has to trust the position of other consumers?
I think sometimes I think that's also like from my side, I think that's prejudice. Like I think it's like, only consumers, but like sometimes we have that feeling for what works. Sometimes like you have a painful problem that you face in yourself, and you solve the problem, and then you figure out that other people, also have the problem. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the consumers. It comes down to like what they actually want and what options they have available to them, right? Like I think it was in the Mark Cuban book. He said, there was like Yahoo and it was Google. And I think Yahoo either like rejected like to buy Google or something like that. They had the opportunity to buy it. They didn't want it. Like, so it's kind of like it was different dynamic, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or so. So Yahoo was like here, Google was here, just starting out. But like Google, since then, they focused on the consumer. What's easier for the consumer? So Yahoo was making like everything so complicated, so sophisticated. Google made a single search bar, like simplified everything in terms of the search, made a very like good kind of like search algorithm that would show like very relevant websites. And he said like Yahoo, kind of like the abbreviation means you always have other options. So he said that in his book, and it makes a lot of sense. You always have other options, right? You're like at Yahoo, you go to Google, right? And that's what happened. People went to Google, and Yahoo's like, I don't know where it is, like maybe in Japan, very popular in Japan, some smaller markets.
Yeah, like I haven't used Yahoo since they had season 6 of Community TV show from about 10 years ago. And one thing that stuck out to me as you're describing the difference between these two is, Google as a utility versus Yahoo, I think is more of like a lifestyle hub where you go onto Yahoo and there's news and there's articles and there is a search bar, but the seconds, it's only seconds, but the seconds between going to Google, entering it and getting right away, because I'm in the intention phase right now. I'm not looking for discovery. I'm looking to find exactly what it is I'm looking for. So I never thought about that before.
I think some Russian. So I'm from Ukraine originally, and I'm using some like Russian browsers from time to time. I have the mailbox there. And I think they're more similar to Yahoo. They're called like Yandex, Mail.ru. Like they're more similar to Yahoo, I guess, in that respect, because it's kind of like they give you like a lot of options. You can go to your mailbox, but you can also see all of this news and all of these like different tabs. But it's working for that particular market. I think for markets like United States, probably people are more compelled with kind of like simplified process of finding exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a great deal of sense. Now, with that, I think we're just about to run out of time with you because I know you got to go. So we're gonna have to wrap this one up. It has been a fantastic conversation, by the way. I wrote down a ton of notes, just the stuff that I want to take away and keep in the back of my mind. So to our audience, I think one thing we want to make sure that they're aware of is the ecommercescalingsecrets.com. This is a brief video that shows them some of the basics of how to set up a funnel. Full disclosure, I didn't see the video in time, but just let us know briefly about this. I think this is going to be a really good starting point for our audience, and then take it from there. Let the audience know how else they can find out what you do and what you're up to.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to plug in. I mean, I think, we can help people from your audience. And especially, as I mentioned, like people like 6-7 figure level want to take their success to the next level. Utilizing, your team and, the resources that you guys provide as well, from your side. So I have like YouTube channel. It's called Alex Fedotoff. It's the same as my name. And, we have like good people in our audience, typically more kind of like advanced videos, more sophisticated. Then I have, e-commerce scaling secrets. So this is where we show one of the things that differentiates what we do is we do funnels, more like kind of like funnel concept. We haven't touched on that a lot. We probably need to connect again sometime soon. But it's basically, we want to kind of like guide people through the process where we are. So we typically have the pre-sale pages, several pre-sale pages. We're building more value about the product. We typically sell products at a more expensive price than our competitors because we want to kind of like build more value about the product. We want to charge more. We want to make more from each transaction. Then we can afford to buy better quality products, ship it to customers, afford the better customer experience and just have better margins at the end, right? That's why Apple is like, has these like tremendous margins as a business and grows of it because their margins are like ridiculous. So this is what we do. This is a funnel concept. That video explains exactly how we do it. And some people can copy it. They can book a call with our team if they want to. We'll connect and we'll see if we can help them in any way. If not, it's fine. So that's basically what it is.
So once more, you have my sincere gratitude for taking the time with us today to chat and fill us full of wisdom. A lot of knowledge I gained today, that's for sure. So with that, I say thank you. And to our audience, as always, it is an honor to be able to collect and provide this information to all of you. So I hope you make the best of it. You know what to do from here on. So take care. And we will check in soon.
Prices of online businesses are going up, right? Because demand has. Now, the reason why.
Hey, this is Joseph from ECOMMERCE. Just wanted to thank you for being here and for giving this content your time and attention. I hope you learned something. I can say with certainty, I have learned something with every episode that I have done, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's a couple of things you can do to help us out. If you want to check out the audio content, we are available on all major podcast platform distributors. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. And while you're here on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can do to help out as well. It's not going to take very long. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for this episode, and hit the notification bell so when we have new content for you, it's going to be at your doorstep ASAP. Lastly, this podcast is created by Debutify, the best Shopify template available. It is 100% free for you to start, and it can change your life. It can make you so much more free than you are right now. So if this episode wasn't enough to convince you, I think a few more might do the trick. So have at it.